My apartment is a more than welcome sight after everything. Although it's small and begs for a little cleaning and repair, it is, at the end of the day, the closest I have to a respite. Sure, my sister would have a thing or two to say about the mess every time she visits, but it's still home to me. A mild draft sweeps into the room as I close the door behind me, slightly disturbing the papers on the nearby fridge. Most of them schedules, lists, and tasks for the next few days. Something to keep me busy while I sort things out. Sort myself out. And now with what happened to Isabella, something to temporarily take my mind off things. A lone note flutters by my feet, the letters on the surface glaring at me with mute intensity. Ermengarde Mansion, H. Wright, 11 a.m. But our boy warned us about that. Let's see. Zach headed straight home after a long day. A photo shoot with Hannah Wright at the Ermengarde Mansion was on his schedule for tomorrow. After Ashton's warnings about the couple, he now felt anxious about the whole thing. After Ashton's warnings, they all hold a different meaning now. Yeah, they do. Alright. So, I think this time around, we'll show the photos to Ash. Let's see. Okay, so we skipped some stuff. It won't change what happened to Isabella. But she certainly won't wish for anything to happen to us either. Okay. Back to skipping. So we'll get to skip some things. While Luxburn is a relatively peaceful city boasting a low crime rate, its precinct stays abuzz with activity. As soon as I open the glass front doors, murmurs coming from the people waiting in the lobby welcome me. Officers can occasionally be seen shuffling in and out of the rooms, greeting civilians with a casual smile and a polite nod. Some, though, look a little worse for wear, like the receptionist who looked at me with much disdain the moment I arrived. Thankfully, I won't have to deal with him today. Before I can even step in, Ashton's voice, though low, comes from the hallway adjacent to the lobby.
Not even for just 1 minute?
No. The case was dismissed, remember?
You were the one handling that case.
If you want access to those records, you've got to ask Chief. I was taken off it before shit went to hell. Why do you even bother? Even Professor Clark seems to have given up on that.
Well, never mind, you won't understand.
Right. I know you owe Professor Clark a lot, but the right guy isn't just someone you mess with. They've got the money. Who knows what else gets swept under the rug with them involved.
That takes a special kind of ignorant not to know.
And a smart person to know which boundaries he can't cross. You're a bright guy, you'll figure it out. In any case, I've got to get going. Another missing person case on my hand. Benjamin on the front desk looks like he's about to maul someone after the fourth one yesterday. Murders, people missing, what a time to be alive. Man, I miss the old Luxburn.
You and me both. I'll see ya. Gonna go grab some lunch.
Okay, is this really not new? I'll find out. He notices me first as soon as he enters the lobby and pauses. Okay. Confusion briefly crosses his face until I fish out the phone from my pocket and wave it up. Frowning, he pulls his own mobile out, wordlessly fiddling with it for a few seconds before sighing heavily. There ain't any annoyance in him when he glances up, though. Only mild exasperation and what might be a hint of amusement. Although underneath all that, there's something else, too. Hiding subtly in the dark circles under his eyes, his slumped posture and partly unkempt appearance.
Sorry, I haven't gotten a chance to check any of my messages yet. I was looking up something.
You sure you can still step out like that?
Yeah, no problem. I need to get out anyway. What are you doing here in the first place?
Well, I was hoping you could check something for me, but you don't appear to be...
He stops me with a tap on my shoulder, walks past me straight to the door, and gestures with his head towards their very irked receptionist when I raise an eyebrow in question.
Over lunch. I haven't eaten anything since last night, and Benjamin there doesn't really like loiterers around here.
Wordlessly, I follow after him, but not after sending the poor guy behind the table an apologetic smile. Probably should be, but not before. Okay, can I skip some of this? Nope. All of this is new. Fine. As expected, he takes a seat in the farthest corner of the cafe, a good way from the window, but easily allows a view of who comes and go. Secluded enough not to be disturbed by the lunch hour rush or be overheard by a curious bystander. If I didn't know this is lunch he invited me to, I would automatically assume I got dragged into another stakeout. After years of knowing him, though, this has simply become one of the many habits he has I've gotten used to. Ash letting out long, drawn yawns every few minutes, however, is a new thing. I forgot about this cup. It's such good art. Like, hey! Even as food arrives minutes later, he stays distracted. His eyes distant, focused at some point on the table, and a frown creasing his eyebrows as if in deep thought. Thus, while I'm left to grapple for a decent thing to talk about over the plate of vegetable quiche, his odd choice of cake for lunch, and the hubbub surrounding the two of us. Small talk has never been my strong point, and against everything sensible and wise in the world, I blurt out the first thing that pops in my head.
Any news about Bella's condition?
He pauses, the fork stilling halfway to his mouth. Ash is far from the most open person in the world. Even to us, the people he already lets see past the cool and distant persona, there are some things he keeps safely tucked away to himself. In that one unguarded second, though, a pained expression shoots across his features, one he doesn't bother hiding under his usual mask of detachment. I'm not sure why, of all things happening right now, I find that alone unnerving.
No change since I left yesterday. Rebecca visited last night. Said something about an aunt taking things from here. I didn't hear most of it. I was needed back at the precinct. But I'll probably drop by again later to see if I can help.
I think it's the one who helped to get the job at BRC.
Really? I only just found out. I thought Isabella was living alone all this time. Well, I assume since Becca is her emergency contact.
She is living alone, technically. Her aunt's working pretty far from here. She only mentioned her in passing before.
Wonder if we get to meet her.
Can't very well help their family when her aunt has her own set of mouths to feed. Bella had to be the one to take the job. Something like that. And it ain't even like she'd want someone else to do the work. If she can, she'll do it herself.
She's stubborn, that's what she is.
You shouldn't talk.
He gives a non-committal hum and returns to his food. He hasn't even taken a bite when he lets out another yawn. This time I really have to ask. Well, I mean... Ashton Frey. What's the best way to word this? I mean, I'm going to end up doing both of these choices at some point, so I don't really need to fret about it. I think I'm going to ask the mighty coin. 'Cause I'm not really sure how either of these is... I feel like he's going to take offense at both. But there's obviously one he won't take offense at. I'm leaning towards slow down, just because Zach, as the Watson to Ash's Holmes, sometimes has to be pretty blunt with him, and Ash takes it well, but it really depends on the mood. So, alright, heads, I'm gonna do the top choice. Tails, I'm gonna do the bottom. Hiya! Tails! Alright. Here we go. The coin hath spoken. Don't you need to slow down?
You look like you're about to pass out.
Sir. Okay. Intuition did not steer me wrong, and neither did the coin.
I'll be fine. What I'm doing is more important.
Don't you think you need to slow down for a little?
He laughs, the mirth more from the incredulity of my suggestion than any amusement he finds in a friend worrying for his well-being.
You aren't seriously asking me that.
I am.
Maybe I am. Think of it this way. If it's Rebecca who's asking, oh, she won't be as nice as I am.
Oh.
That's low, Zach.
How could you? Sure, it is. I'd hate to bring Rebecca into this, but if I can't reason with him, she sure as hell can. That alone seems to knock some sense into him, though. The horrified look on his face says something.
I'm just giving you your options.
Yeah, I get it. I'll see what I can do after this.
Are things really that bad?
You're looking at me right now. What do you think?
Cut back on the sarcasm, Ash. I really want to know what's happening here.
Ash drags both of his hands down his face and lets out a huff, weighted with every frustration he's carrying in him. For an instant, he opens his mouth to say something, probably to argue, but hastily decides against it.
Traffic cams were useless. And those were supposed to be high def to begin with. Damn, huge waste of taxpayers' money when we can't even use it when we need it. The people at Tech have been at it since we got hold of the footage, and all they managed to salvage was a scant few seconds before she crossed the road. How does that help?
Well, there must be some use in that alone. Like, maybe someone pushed her?
There was no one else.
Interesting.
She just stopped right in the middle of the road.
So the ghost didn't show up on that footage.
Just right in the fucking middle. It's like there was something there that prevented her from crossing. I just don't know what. Zach, Isabella's not that stupid. There was something there. That's what made her stop, and the traffic cams didn't catch it. Something
Ghostly. Abruptly, he trails off and gapes at me with wide eyes, as if something has just snapped properly back into place inside his mind.
Or someone. Someone was there.
Actually, if we're going to talk about someone, maybe this has something to do with it as well.
The expression on his face grows more puzzled with each photo I spread on the table. There's about 8 of them, all of it reprints of the same thing. Miss Wright's distorted head on the photos. He takes a minute to go through each, eyeing the prints warily. The furrow on his brow doesn't ease, even as he gathers all of it into one pile and sets them in one neat stack in front of me with a heavy sigh.
Hannah Wright?
Yeah. How did you...
The locket. She never takes it off.
She does now.
Evan's family heirloom.
I won't even think about asking why or how he knows that. If he's investigating them, he'll likely have already dug up every unimaginable dirt on them, including family history.
You never mentioned you got work from them.
Yesterday, yeah. It's just a small feature for a magazine. Interviews, photos, standard stuff, nothing big. But see, here's the thing. I don't know how else to put this out there without sounding crazy, but there really is something odd with that place. Remember the letter?
He drags in a breath, reaches up his nose, and pinches it. Like the action alone will help grant him all the patience in the world to continue this conversation.
Please tell me this isn't about that again.
No, Ash, you've got to listen this time.
I am listening, and I can't believe that just came out of your mouth. These are some blurred out photos, and that letter is just a stupid prank. I expected this from Isabella, not you.
You're the photographer here. I don't see any need to get worked up over this.
I know what you mean, but will you hear me out first?
Ash leans back on his seat and doesn't say anything further. He gestures for me to continue with a wave of his hand, impatience clearly on his face. Any other person telling him this and he'll walk out without batting an eye. I suppose the only reason he's giving me the benefit of the doubt is because we know each other.
Ash, I don't easily buy into these things as much as you do. Yesterday, though, behind Hannah.
He blinks at that, his eyebrows lifting momentarily before settling into a deep frown.
Hannah? Since when were you on a first-name basis with the right missus?
Why does that even matter?
I thought you said this was just a gig.
His voice stays level, but the accusation in it is as clear as day. It hits a nerve in me somehow, more than that tone usually does. I do get where he's coming from, but it's really just a gig. There you go. I might be able to skip a little bit, we'll see. Patience can be a tough thing to summon at times. Nope. But we didn't get this far as friends if we let our own tempers be the lord of us.
Bro, it's really just another freelance work.
Bro. He eyes me skeptically, the same stare he reserves for people he interrogates. I've been on the receiving end of it before, early in our friendship. Years later, he's already got the unimpressed police look down pat.
And there's nothing going on with me and Miss Hannah. She was just being friendly. Insisted I call her by her first name. That's all.
I wasn't implying any of that. You're not that sort of guy.
I know, but let's just get that out of the way. The just-in-case elephant in the room scenario, aight? She's a married woman, Jesus!
Not with the image she presents in public.
No, but trust me, she ain't any of the things the tabloid writes about her.
Like I read any of those.
You should.
I know you don't, but keep it in mind, will you?
Will do. Though I can't promise you'll get off scot-free if she's involved. Man, without your acting, it feels like I'm doing a solid for your girlfriend.
Cut that out, will you? And I'm not asking you to. Besides, what's currently going on here is more important.
All right, lay it in.
Recounting everything takes the better half of our lunch, but he manages to listen through the entire thing without a snide comment. A feat in itself, actually. At the end of it, Ash merely nods, takes out his phone, and excuses himself. Off to a far corner of the cafe for some privacy, if you can even afford to have such in a place as public as this. He returns in a little while and hands me a small card.
I can't stop you if you're willing to believe in this crap. Give this guy a call. You're better off talking to him than me. He's at the public library now if you want to catch him there. He used to be my professor back in the university.
Oh, no, I don't think that's...
Go on. I already gave him a heads up. You know I can't help you out, man.
Alright, thanks, Ashton. Alright. Briefly discusses Isabella's case, topic veered onto the photos, so we're gonna go talk to the professor. He gives my arm a tap and walks off, mumbling about checking back how things are at the precinct. I don't see his face when he leaves, but I know this is his own little way of helping out, despite what he doesn't voice out. Okay, we might be able to skip this. Okay, grand. Don't have to talk to the prof again, so that's good, good, good. Hi, Kylie. I'm supposed to watch to the end of the credits this time, so I guess something's gonna happen. Don't know what, but something. What should I say? Make sure.
Rebecca and I are still here.
And Bella's still here, too.
And don't count Isabella out yet. No matter what the doctor said,
Thank you, Zachary.
I want to believe she'll pull through.
Me too.
We'll manage, one way or another.
Don't make it sound so easy. We have no idea what we're dealing with here.
I ain't saying it will be. But we gotta do something, yeah? Make sure this doesn't happen to anyone else.
Yay, okay.
I never want to wake up to that kind of thing again. Finding out one of my friends was left for dead in the middle of the street. One person is enough.
This is still better than having no other course of action, yeah?
Yeah. Well, luckily for you, Ashton, no one's going to die on my watch. This time. We'll see if that continues, but so far, I'm gonna try and keep y'all alive as best I can. Okay, I'm not gonna act rashly. Gonna keep looking for my boy. Last I heard him speak like that, a friend ended up fighting for her life in the hospital. Now she's still in coma.
I'll be there in a few. An hour or two tops.
Thanks. I'll see you.
Cool. Okay. I feel like we got some big nodes done there, so that's great. Okay. And skip. Skip. Alright, on to Marianne's chapter. Sweet. A lot of this is probably going to be the same, if not all, because I think Hana doesn't change drastically until after Marianne's in the cellar and locked away. I feel. Yeah.
We're both drunk.
I'm not touching that. Sorry, Luke. Sorry, not sorry. I'm like, I just remembered I gotta go. Oh, Bella, before things went wrong. Okay. So we're probably gonna, skip through a lot of these. Seeing Bella actually reminds me, I was looking at the CG of her with the car running her over. It does look a lot like the car Luke is driving in another CG on Becca's route. And so I'm like, oh. Maybe he did run her over, in which case that's kind of messed up, but there you go. Sir, I have work to do. Just so you know. Wonder how a relationship would go if she's possessed. Sounds fair. We'll just... Not that I really have to worry about getting affection with Hana, because, she's, not really gonna remember much of this, judging by things, but who knows? Maybe it'll come into play later. Let's check the first floor. And you must have been quite the pair.
You must have been quite the pair, Mrs. Wright.
Yeah, I don't know if you get a relationship between Hannah and Marianne, if that changes things later in the final chapter. If it changes things between Luke and Marianne, if they have a relationship, I don't know. No idea. I'm still in the dark on that. There's probably nodes, for all I know. Nodes, nodes, and lots of nodes. Well, I'll just have to wait and see. You good?
Hey, are you alright there, Whiskey?
Come visit me in Ireland one day, won't you? It'll be grand.
I take it the investigation isn't going well.
Ooh, chapter 4 complete. Alright. I'll take that achievement. Oh, I guess because Ash is here, with Bella being in hospital?
When does it ever? But that's not the problem. No, it's...
Is this about that hit and run from yesterday's morning news? I saw it.
It is.
I just didn't know if it was the same girl you're always groaning on about.
Groaning on about.
But this just proves it, doesn't it? You don't have a drink.
She might never wake up, G.
He's actually drinking. Aw, Ashton?
And we can't find the son of a bitch that thought it was alright just to leave her there in the road.
Can't you just run plates nowadays? I mean, I just got a ticket for a busted tail light the other day, and they were on that quicker than you can say Bob's your uncle.
The footage is a mess for some reason, and the tech guys are trying to clean it up, which just skews me off, you know. Those things are HD traffic and security cams. They haven't failed before.
And you're thinking there's something foul afoot, is that it?
Their talk would have interested me, would have kept my attention if I gave a damn. Marianne, please, listen. It's important. It's very important. To all my nodes. My nodes need to know. Okay, Marianne, I'm going to protect you. Just hang on. Just gotta clear out these journal entries. Okay, I need to move on. You're safe this time. You're good. You're good, girl. Just run. Run, get locked up, see scary things. It'll be grand. It'll come out in the wash later, don't worry. Okay. Yeah, I figured Marianne's chapter was not going to change all that much. But chapter 4 complete, so huzzah. I'll take that. That might mean she's actually at 100% now, finally. Oh, I'm so excited to get some of these things 100%ed. Yay! It's been a long time coming. Okay, let's clear all this nonsense. Good. Cole caught up to me.
And during the open house?
Okay. We'll skip ahead again. There should be some substantially, is what the word I'm looking for, substantially big changes in Becca. I'm hoping my theory was right about her overhearing Ashton talking to Bella in the hospital. Oh, of course, she was also waiting for Bella to come out for dinner the night she got run over. Oh no, what if she found her? Ooh, that could be. It could be. We'll see. It begins routinely enough. Immediately after I've read the news this morning, I called her. Offered to treat her to a free dinner to help take her mind off things, because, knowing her, this might turn into another episode where she'll lock herself up in her room. It doesn't happen frequently. She's grown sensible that much, at least, but I might as well prevent it before we go down that road. The last time it did, less than 5 years ago, after the incident at Devlin Court, it took Ashton, of all people, to coax her out of her sulk. She isn't the one responsible for Miss Cooper's death, but this will weigh on her regardless. After all, the woman was her mentor. It was only for a brief period years ago, and they never worked together again after, but she still feels like she owes the woman a lot up to this day. I mean, they just worked on the open house last weekend. To my relief, she agreed, even promised she'll meet me at St. Goretti right after my classes. Though it is a bit odd of her to ask me to stay safe before suddenly cutting off our talk, everything's going swimmingly. What isn't part of the plan is her failing to turn up, leaving me waiting for hours.
Where the bloody hell is she?
4 hours from the time we agreed on, and still counting. Yet, I received not a single call or text from her. She did try to call. This, after I took the courtesy and effort of sending her a message, telling her where I'm heading to when I had to leave the school. She could have done that too at least, and saved me the trouble of waiting.
She can be such a child sometimes. I swear, if she locked herself up in that room, she's not going to hear the end of this.
Glancing at my watch only stirs up my temper further. Almost closing time now. With the exception of a few still in line for some late-night coffee and snack, or those simply finishing their food, the small crowd inside has started to thin out. Half of the normally bustling place is now empty, and the speakers have stopped playing music seconds ago. Still, I wish they kept it going longer for a few more minutes. I can do with some relaxing music right now. Especially with the pitying looks the manager and the one manning the cashier are giving me once I hit my second hour of waiting here. The former even offered me another cup for free after I drank through my second one earlier. That was nice. Naturally, I appreciate the gesture. The woman has been nothing but kind to us in the times Isabella and I happened to catch her here. This time, however, they probably think my date stood me up or something, even if the reality falls far from it. Extremely far. Honestly, this is more like waiting for your child after school if there's any comparison to make. Although if it were Ashton. If we ever do go on a date, I doubt he'd ever do this. Really? I could see him just forgetting or just being like, sorry, I couldn't message you, I was on a case, and I couldn't risk compromising the mission. I could easily see him doing that. He may be an embarrassing friend to have for Zachary and Isabella and has his odd moments, but he's definitely a reliable guy. Probably the only one I've ever had the chance of knowing this long, except for Zachary.
If he won't make it, I'm sure he'll at least have the decency to inform me beforehand.
Not that I'll ever have the courage to ask him, or anything of that sort happening anytime soon. I haven't even forgotten my poor attempt at a confession back in secondary. Did you try? Oh my goodness, at least you tried. Thank goodness. I wrote a short letter for him then, only for it to end up unread and hidden away someplace. I might have already lost it, in fact, after I moved out from home. Along with that diary I used to religiously write on. Guess that's a plug for that mobile game. But all of that's irrelevant and a wholly different matter from this. Besides, it's getting late. It's already quite obvious Isabella has no plans of ever showing up tonight, and if she thinks she's getting away from pulling such a stunt on me, she's got another thing coming for her. When I called her this morning, I genuinely believed she's better than that childish part of her, but this simply proves things otherwise, doesn't it? She should be thankful. It's only because of my own stubbornness and good faith in her that I stayed here beyond the bounds of what my own patience allows me.
And look where that got me.
I might as well leave now too. Considering the loud blaring of sirens passing by outside, getting home tonight might take longer. Probably an accident. They rarely happen here in Luxburn, but not entirely unheard of. Most of the time, it just results in heavy traffic and a few roads nearby being temporarily closed off. Judging from the direction the police mobile's headed to, and from where an ambulance came from earlier, it's in the same route I take.
Joy of joys.
Without delaying, I gather my things back in my bag, shoot a quick thanks at the cafe's personnel for allowing me to stay this long, and hastily leave the place. Hopefully, I'm not too late and the side streets aren't too congested yet. However, no 2 steps out, my mobile rings all of a sudden, effectively stopping me in my tracks. I answer it without checking the screen, fully expecting to hear Isabella's string of apologies and excuses. A series of reprimands is already at the tip of my tongue. Friends or not, what she did is simply unacceptable. She needs to learn. She's 26, for goodness sake.
Isabella! I've been waiting for hours! Where the bloody fucking hell are you?
Damn.
We agreed on a time, didn't we? This isn't funny, you know?
But the one that responds on the other end isn't her voice. This one is deeper, almost out of breath, and talks with a bit of a hurried note.
Rebecca, it's me.
Oh, Ashton. Ash! Why are you calling me so suddenly? Do you need something?
Where are you right now? Salemwell?
No, but I'm about to head home. I was supposed to meet with Isabella after school. She never showed up, though. Why?
Ashton doesn't immediately answer, however. In place of his reply, I find myself focusing instead on the noise coming from his side. People shouting orders from afar, a few curses flying off and about, and someone yelling at another poor bloke. There's also the low murmur of what appears to be a small group of people around him. Farther back, if I strain my ears, is the din of car horns and vehicles driving past. He must have been assigned on another case, called to another crime scene. In the middle of the night, at that. He'll probably end up spending time there until the investigations last, likely until tomorrow, without even getting any shut-eye or a short rest. My lips purse tight at that, but I don't say anything. Any attempts to call him out on it before has resulted in an argument. The best I can do at the minute is keep these opinions to myself, no matter how much I disapprove of it, even if I'm not the only one who shares the same opinion. Even Zachary and Isabella has something to say about it. I'm simply the most vocal out of the three of us. That aside, none of those explain why he's calling me in the middle of his work.
Ash, are you still there?
I've had like an inner monologue for 6 minutes. Are you still there?
I'll be home soon. If this'll take time, just call my landline number. Give me about half an hour. I should be able to find a quicker route home, hopefully.
No, Becca, don't go home yet.
It's going to get late if I don't leave now, Ash. There seems to have been an accident along the route I take, too. I'm not sure, but I saw a couple of police mobiles rushing past a few minutes ago. You wouldn't happen to know anything about that, do you?
Becca, about that. I need you to get yourself to the hospital.
Hospital? Right now? Why?
A hollow feeling suddenly creeps down to my stomach, despite having eaten dinner mere minutes ago. Ashton's hesitation doesn't help either. Whatever his reasons for calling, it can only be taken as unpleasant based solely on his tone.
Ash, is there a problem? Wait, it isn't you, is it? Did you get hurt or something? I told you to never make a joke about that. Please tell me this isn't one of those...
It's not for me. Calm down, Becca.
Well, why the sudden need for a hospital visit then? I sure as hell am not sick. Who's it for?
Silence again. If this dilly-dallying is simply his reluctance, or he's just carefully measuring the weight of his next words, I can't tell. For all his good looks, he can be brutally blunt even without putting a concerted effort on it. Within our small circle, unless we really have no other choice, no one ever trusts him with the task of delivering the bad news. And this is one, isn't it? Who put him up to this? The fact that he's dragging it out like this only increases my apprehension.
Ashton, if you're just going to hum and haw for the next 5 minutes, we're better off...
It's true.
It's Isabella.
Come again?
Isabella. Scaredy cat. She's... Okay, listen up. You didn't hear this from me, and you're not the one who should have heard it first, but someone has to be there with her, and I can't.
Hold on. What exactly happened?
Ooh, Ashton broke protocol.
I was just talking to her this morning. Now you're telling me she somehow ended up in a hospital?
Yeah, that accident you mentioned earlier. It's...
Bloody hell, Ashton, out with it!
Just a few hours ago, a car ran her over while she was crossing the street. I can't give the details yet. We're still checking on the cams, but the driver fled afterwards. She was left bleeding in the road.
All at once, as though the wind has been knocked out of me, and remembering how to breathe becomes a whole different endeavor altogether. My hand makes its way over my mouth as I fight the tremors from gradually sweeping over me. Little by little, the memories of the last few hours rush back to me. Her asking me to keep myself safe, my calls going unanswered for a long period, and the passing wails of an ambulance.
She was still breathing when the paramedics arrived, but I won't lie. Her condition's critical. Concussion, multiple fractures, and internal bleeding. They said she lost so much blood, and it'll be a miracle if she makes it through the night. Damn it, when I find the bastard who did this.
What about Zach? Zachary, does he know already? Shouldn't we tell him about this too?
No, not yet. Don't tell him anything yet. Let's just keep the circle small for now. I don't want to alarm him. I'll tell him myself tomorrow, but I need you to hurry to the hospital. Can you do that for me? You're the only one I can trust with this right now.
Yeah, I'll be there. No problem. Don't worry about it.
All right, okay. That's one problem off the list. Thanks, Becca. I'll keep you updated with how things are on my side. I need to go.
He ends the call abruptly, without so much as a goodbye or a single reassurance everything will be okay. Typical Ashton. He doesn't know. None of us knows, and we can only hope, amidst the fading of sirens in the distance, like the very life quickly slipping away in front of us. When my body finally moves, despite trembling hands and knees threatening to buckle at any time, it's only the single-minded desperation to reach her that pushes me. Please. Please hang in there. Alright. Let's read our journal entry about that phone call, I guess. Probably. It's a cup. Isabella never showed up after agreeing to meet up with Rebecca for dinner. However, as Rebecca was about to head home, she received an alarming phone call from Ashton. Isabella is in a critical state at Ermengarde Memorial Hospital after being involved in a car accident. Well, we get to see how Becca dealt with this all by herself. The whole ward is almost too quiet when I arrive. No paramedics or nurses zooming past, no doctors in scrubs blaring out orders, or even patients moaning and whimpering in the triaging area. She's already been taken to the trauma room, according to the overhead announcements.
Attention, please. Adult Tier 1 trauma alert. Please respond to the trauma center, shock room 4.
Is that Ashton's voice actor? None of this is what I'm expecting. The lack of chaos. With the air so calm and unstirring, in spite of what's taking place beyond this waiting room, so unlike what they often depict in the telly. Although it'll be foolish of me to believe any of those shows. There may be some degree of accuracy in it, true, but it's all often done for the sake of entertainment and stirring up people's emotions. Yet, despite fully knowing that, I still crave for the noise, the commotion, the worried voices, or even the shouting. Anything. Whatever that will temporarily take the edge off my nerves. Instead, much like everything today, all I get to have when a trauma nurse finally shows up is an impassive declaration of, "She's in a critical condition, Mum." Nothing I've not yet heard of from Ashton before. Oh, he doesn't spare me another word, not even a single explanation of what they're doing to Isabella. In the next minute, I'm being entrusted with her belongings, everything now smeared and reeking of fresh blood. Afterwards, it's back to that silence again, longer this time. You'd think they would give that to the police. Well, like, would it count as evidence? Maybe not. I don't know. With only glass doors occasionally whizzing, as well as the nearly wooden voice over the hospital's intercom for company.
Paging Dr. Nicholas Vogel to Lord William Ward. Shock room 4. Please report to Trauma Center shock room 4 stat. Dr. Vogel, please.
But who am I to demand for more when in some part of this bloody emergency ward Isabella's fighting for her life? In the end, no matter what my complaints are, what I want to hear or see, they're all useless here. I'm useless here.
Dr. Vogel, please report to the Trauma Center shock room 4 stat.
Dr. Vogel, please. It says on the sign that you're in. All I can do is sit down and wait. Go through every small motions to keep myself occupied, prevent my mind from thinking of every ugly scenario this might lead to. Because as stubborn, annoying, or childish as I regard her time and again,
I don't want to lose a friend to this.
Not in this manner. And it's that thought I hold firmly to. As the hours go by, as the halls grow quieter and everything around me turns dimmer, bleaker, it's what I cling on, along with a small plea at the heart of it. A muttered prayer, desperate and earnest all at once.
I've never been the religious kind. I don't think I ever will identify as one. But if there's some other force, someone out there who can hear, please listen to me just this once.
Please don't take her away. Aw. She does care about her friend Bella. Before long, sleep claims me, fraught with lasting images of blood and a single voice on a vain struggle with death. Thus the waiting game begins. There's our girl. The following morning arrives like any other day before it, bright and clear, as if the world hasn't completely tilted out of focus the night before, like nothing ever happened. It's a good day by common standards, albeit one I can't fully appreciate. Maybe I would have if it isn't the hospital's glaring fluorescence that greeted me first, or my eyes still aren't rough with sleep, or I've chosen a more comfortable place to doze off. Even better if I've gotten a more pleasant news than what I received after waiting for hours on end. But times like this, you simply take what you can get. It could have been worse. We could have easily lost her. The doctors and nurses said so. But by some bullheaded miracle, we didn't. What do you know? She's actually found some use for her stubbornness. If she survives this, it seems this will be the last time I'll rail on her about that. It might have saved her, after all. They had to induce coma, yes. It may not be what we wanted, but it sure as hell isn't the end for her, and that's enough. That's good enough. We can work from there. At least like this, we know in her own little way, Isabella's still fighting and hoping isn't such a futile thing for us. Zachary thinks so. Unlike me, he never falters. Not even once since he arrived and joined me in my vigil. Even when the uncertainty starts to have its sway on me, all he has for me are reassurances.
You did the right thing, Rebecca.
You don't know that. What if she doesn't want this? Do you see all of these? Wires and tubes and bandages everywhere. She's barely herself, clinging to dear life as it is. She can't even hear us. Doesn't even know there are people here worried sick for her.
The point is she's still here. Don't beat yourself up over what ifs. This ain't over for her, aight? I've seen people recover from even worse. Have some faith in her.
I do have faith in her.
You know what? I think this is just a lack of sleep talking. You been here since when? Last night? Go get some rest, Miss Gales.
But Isabella's...
I'll take care of her, don't you worry. We can do shifts if you want, but go home first. We'll talk about that later when you ain't looking like you're about to fall apart. If you keep going like this, you're the one who'll end up here next.
I don't know if it's the optimism in his tone that did it. But at his words, regardless of the mood around us, some of the exhaustion finally lifts, enough for a soft chuckle to slip out from me. How odd. Out of all people, Zachary is the last person I ever expect to get a pick-me-up from. After all, we've never been particularly close. At best, we're good friends. We talk, we laugh when the situation calls for it, but admittedly none of those will ever occur if Ashton or Isabella aren't there. It's not entirely uncomfortable, but awkward nevertheless. We simply can't seem to find something to talk about without those two to drive the conversation. Still, here he is, in spite of that gap or whatever dark cloud hanging above his head lately. I can't possibly reject his offer knowing that, can I?
This feels like a conversation I had with Isabella a few days ago. I said the exact same thing to her.
Then maybe it's a sign you should rest. Let me take over from now.
Maybe. But I'll keep that in mind. Are you sure you'll be fine alone? I'll come back this evening. So if you need anything picked up, I can get it for you.
Nah, no problem on that front. Besides, if I do need something, my apartment's just a few blocks away. Skip and a hop, that's all I need. Focus on getting some sleep. Let me take care of this for a few hours. Do it for everyone's sake,
Will do. Thanks, Zachary. If something changes with her, promise me you'll call.
You'll be the first one to know, ma'am. Well, if it comes to that. I hope the news I bring will be better than the one we got this morning. Crazy thing having to wake up to this.
I hope so too. I'll see you later.
I give him a smile before leaving. Frankly, it's a weak and half-hearted attempt at encouragement, and whether it's intended to be for me or for him, I don't linger over it. At the end of the day, we both need any little strength we can muster and extend between us, in whatever form those may choose to come. The door closes behind me with a soft click, at last muffling the ceaseless beeping from the machines. but I know this isn't the last time I'll be hearing those. A wholly different atmosphere meets me when I step out the hallway. Sterile, placid, along with this sharp, bitter air dangling oppressively above my head as I make my way out of the ward. It stands at a stark contrast to the room I came from only seconds ago. With the whole place like this, Zachary's passing remark about Isabella years ago rings truer. He's right. There has always been this certain warmth she carries around her wherever she goes. The sunny, sprightly kind. Reminds you a little of home and those childhood memories so often forgotten. Something I both envy and ignore in her to the point of taking it for granted. But in spite of the circumstances she's trapped in now, it remains with her in that room. And leaving it is like a douse of cold water. Every thought, every responsibility, every worry I've set aside last night returns to me tenfold. Someone has to inform BRC. Then there's also her aunt who works in another country. She needs to know as well. Her family in the Philippines, too. And though he never asked for it, I'm sure Ashton will also appreciate any news on her condition.
Bloody hell. This is supposed to be easy.
Is it? Call and deliver the news. As simple as that. Offer small, soothing words if need be, no matter how meaningless or how flat they fall in the other's ears. Yet my hand wavers. The moment I pull my phone out, my whole body freezes. I stop in my tracks while my thumb hovers uselessly over the names on the screen. Her aunt, her mom, Ashton. The letters on it flicker brightly, almost accusingly at my stalling. How would they react? How would her family feel hearing this from someone they've never even met before? How do I tell them? What do I say? There are a million ways this can go. None of them pleasant, all of them out of my control.
But I can't simply pawn this off on someone else, can I?
Well, you can always start with the easiest call, calling Ashton, and then work your way from there. Even before I agreed to be her emergency contact, I've always known the responsibilities that come with being named one. At a young age, I already did, and Isabella's trust goes as far as to put me in that list. If that doesn't say what she thinks of this little friendship, I don't know what else will. And now I balk at it?
That simply isn't how the Scotswoman in my blood does things.
Well, have a stiff drink then, and then call. So before I lose this sudden resolve or stumble back into another cycle of negative thoughts, I press down on the call button. Ashton first. I'll think about how I'll deal with the others later. Seems sensible. Although I still have no clue how I'll open the topic, the news is still a far cry from a good one, but with him I won't have to worry how to best phrase it. Word choice and turn of phrase notwithstanding, ultimately this will all just sound like an update on the situation for him. When he finally answers, however, a certain tightness in his voice makes me pause. Hoarser, rougher than I remember, and it doesn't take a genius to figure out he hasn't gotten any sleep yet.
Becca? Didn't I tell you not to call around this hour unless it's urgent?
I remember, sorry. Don't worry, this'll be quick. It isn't urgent, but I thought you should... You deserve to know about this as soon as possible.
Can it wait? At least until lunch?
It can, but I'm about to...
Rebecca, I'm in the middle of something right now. I can't really talk over the phone. I'll just call you back.
The shuffling of papers follows his dismissive tone. Note. He hasn't dropped the call yet, but his impatience and inattentiveness are clear. There's no need to guess. I can almost see it. The small scowl over his features, the way he reaches up with a hand to pinch the bridge of his nose when he can't figure something out. His quick, sharp movements while he checks and reads through everything with an enormous focus. Generally, I'd ignore it. I called him for an entirely different reason. Even so, the sudden nonchalance irks. Maybe it has to do with his own exhaustion. Without a doubt, he's been at this since his call last night. That part I understand. Still. Would it hurt him to pause and ask for a minute? Do I always have to spell it out for him? Or maybe it's time we stop beating around the bush. I mean... Aren't you even going to ask about her? That's how Becca would phrase the top question, so I don't think that's a good way to go. This is more controlled on Becca's part, so hopefully it won't dissolve into a shouting match? Okay, that's good. It was a positive. However, knowing Ashton, any attempts to push will only be met with an almost equal amount of bloody-minded aversion. Honestly, there are a lot of things he needs to hear at the moment. But bringing all those concerns out in the open will probably make me sound more of a pure arsehole than a concerned friend. Yeah. We're in the same boat, after all. This is as difficult for him as it is for me. Never mind the specifics, the hows, or the whys. We're both tired. Though unlike me, it's likely he hasn't gotten the chance to breathe easy since this whole thing began. Furthermore, Zachary isn't with him to listen like he always does. So if I could ease some of that burden off him by holding off on my sharp retorts and opinions, then for the time being, I'll gladly do so.
How is it going, by the way? Any news?
The rustling from his side abruptly stops. All of a sudden, a hush sweeps over him, and immediately I recognize it. This is him mulling over how to best articulate his answers, how to weave together those little truths he's not ready to brave. Because doing so reveals too much of those fears, his weaknesses, and what he believes he failed to do. Unspoken as those may be, they echo louder in his silence. They all seep through the tiny cracks beginning to show in that wall he keeps. It doesn't really last long enough to hold, and when he regains his bearings, the shuffling returns with it. Less urgent, milder than his actions earlier. A soft exhale, and his exasperation comes at its heels.
Not good.
Not good, as in...
As in, we aren't getting anywhere, Rebecca.
What about the surveillance cameras? You said you were going to check those last night, didn't you? Can't you use them? It must have caught something.
Yeah, we got the footage we needed. Oh, shit.
Don't talk like that. They spent a good chunk of the taxpayers' money on those, didn't they? I'd be cheesed off if you can't even find any good use for it.
Cheesed off?
That's precisely what's frustrating about this. Those are top-of-the-line security cams. They're not supposed to just stop working. But that night they were all useless. The recording chose to fuck up the exact moment we needed them.
What a coinky-dink.
How dumb is that?
His voice fades, gradually, swallowed by the constant din of traffic around him, along with the words and every implication they carry. If he has found other ways around this predicament, he leaves all of it unsaid, or has already been lost in the hubbub around him. Ashton's disappointment is the only thing I hear when he finds his tongue.
The guys at Tech have been trying to clean the footage since it was turned over. No promises from them, though.
Another round of shuffling follows, papers being folded and stacked neatly together, then the sharp tapping of shoes against concrete. Soon, a car door closes behind him with a heavy thunk, effectively shutting out the noise outside. However he looks or feels at present, whatever's bound to happen next, he won't allow the world to see this one weakness. Except the lull that ensues deafens more than soothes. He's quiet for a long moment, with only his breathing breaking through the dense air every now and then. Although the line hasn't been cut off yet, I dare not speak. I've seen him like this before, and right now, even with the distance between us, forming a clear picture of him in my mind is easy. His mind leaning against the steering wheel, his head leaning against the steering wheel, hands gripping it like a lifeline, and his eyes shut tight in an effort to compose himself. He's angry. Not at what's happening around him.
Frankly, we can't move like this. We can't even find any witnesses. Those recordings are the only thing we've got. And if Tech can't fix those, if we can't even get anything out of it, without those, we've got no other leads. And this case is going to get dropped faster than a badly written police report.
But Adam's self.
If that happens, frankly, I've got no other choice but to let go of this. There's only so much I can do for her with all the red tape. Damn it.
No consolations, no words of encouragement. I don't offer him any, whether he's waiting for those or not. Those aren't what he wants to hear at the moment, despite himself. And sure enough, after another bout of silence and skirting around the topic, he finally asks, in a tense, small voice, too afraid of the answers lying ahead of one question, too wary of what people will see behind those walls already coming apart at the seams. But he permits me to see beyond it, if only for a short second.
How is she doing, by the way?
After all that, the least I can give him is a plain-spoken answer.
Comatose. Medically induced. She's on life support. They had no other choice. Surgery was stopped after a few hours because continuing would have been more fatal for her. They were losing their options, and her chances were slim from the moment they brought her in. That she managed to make it this far is already a miracle.
That's a little too optimistic. Is that how they phrased it?
No, not exactly like that.
Just give it to me straight.
The doctors said... The doctors, they were... Last night was a miracle. But they said we shouldn't hope for another with how things are looking. They aren't going to do anything without our consent, of course, but it'd be best if we let her family know. Let them decide.
I see. I expected as much.
Have some faith in her. She'll get better. I wish I can tell those same words to him with the same certainty Zachary does. But we're people rarely swayed by blind optimism. Ashton especially. He has seen her last night. He has known the odds even before the doctors saw her. It's very probably he's already steeled himself from the worst of it even before the news came. This one might seem better. She's alive, she's still with us. But when you look at it from his point of view, is there even any difference? With Zachary, it's easy to believe there is. It's not too difficult to hope. With Ashton, none of it is in his tone when he mutters a quick goodbye and cuts the call. In truth, I've hoped I'll somewhat be able to urge him to drop by and check on her. But as the last busy notes fade from my phone, chances of him ever doing that grow ever slim as well. He'll keep at this, and until he's exhausted all his efforts, it'll just be me and Zachary with her. The weight of that thought alone already feels staggering. If I have enough mental capacity to take this on right now, I'll gladly do so. Just to get everything over with. But the way things are, and I am now, I'll only end up doing more harm than good, both to myself and those around me. Besides, the more pressing matter is getting out of this place. Because when I look up from my phone and finally take in my surroundings, only an unfamiliar hallway greets me. Brightly lit as any other corridor here, though oddly void of people in the usual hospital clamor. Yes, very strange. No voices announcing over the intercom, no beeping from machines inside the rooms, not even a single patient waiting or the occasional doctor or nurse on their rounds. I must have taken a wrong turn somewhere while I'm busy worrying about those phone calls earlier. That ought to teach me something.
Of all the places to get lost at.
I know, the ghostly part. I've never thought much of hospitals before. They're a necessity. Walking alone in a deserted area inside one, however, with the walls coming off too white, too clean in my eyes, and perhaps even too dull, I can't help but feel a bit queasy about it. A heavy, unsettling feeling lands on my stomach. It's a bit unnerving, but far more agreeable than the sensation of being watched I've been enduring these past few days. And I know I shouldn't do this here, but...
Hello? Anyone here?
I'm the one in the horror movie that dies. Hello? Faint footsteps and a murmur of voices echo from somewhere. Still, no one responds to my call. It merely bounces off the walls before dwindling until all I have for company is the sound of my footsteps. Admittedly, this is a little disconcerting. But for now, I let the distant noises guide me as I walk along the empty corridor, looking for that exit that'll lead me back to the main lobby or anyone I can ask for directions. A good minute passes. And another. I'm about to turn around and retrace my steps instead when... Alright, I'm leaning back. I was wondering, I'm like, was this hospital here years ago? And because we heard that it was recently renovated. I'm like, the sound of it makes me halt. It's a little muffled and infrequent, but grows louder after each passing second. With the hallway devoid of people, I don't have to strain my ears to pinpoint where it's coming from. Not too far ahead, in fact. Just past the sharp turn at the end of this corridor. And clearly, it's the voice of a child.
Where are you, Mother?
On a normal day, I won't concern myself with this, considering where I am. Hundreds come and go here every day. Whatever business they have here, whether they arrived in tears or not, I've got nothing to do with it, and vice versa. Personally, I don't think a stranger's worry would do much when there are nurses and doctors already attending to them. But that also begs the question why a child is here crying. Possibly on her own. Did she happen to wander here like I did? If so, I can't just very well leave her here, can I? I can't even find my own way out. What more if it's a child? Though I'm quite sure the hospital's a safe place, and the roaming staff will eventually find her, who knows what else might happen if I just leave her here.
Mother, please. I don't want to be alone.
In any case, I don't have the heart to turn my back on this. Not when this kid's just a few meters away from me. I might as well check on her, make their job easy, and bring her with me to the lobby where her parents can easily find her. It's not totally out of the way. So gingerly, I seek her out. Taking light, mindful steps as I approach where her sobs come from, hoping not to startle her. My caution, however, is ineffectual. The closer I get, the more frantic her sobs become. I try to ease her fears by calling out to her, but...
Hey! Hello there? Can you hear me? Mother, please! She's here! She's here, Mother! She's going to take me!
It's interesting, because this is the same dialogue that Ash heard of Charlotte in the attic. But she does sound a lot younger here. And I thought that she was in reference to Takako, but now I'm questioning everything.
I'm not going to hurt you. Are you lost? She won't leave, Mother. I'm heading back to the lobby. Do you want to come with me? Your mom could easily find you if we go there. Mother, I don't want to go with her. Tell her to go away. All right. Why don't we just find someone who can...
Suddenly, she cries out, and in a flash, her stifled sobs grow louder and more violent, fraught with fear and dread. It doesn't take too long for a little fact to register. I'm not the one she's talking to from the beginning. Whoever it is, she doesn't want the person with her in there.
Mother, she's here! Help!
I don't think twice. With all the haste I can gather, despite the weariness in my bones, I break into a run before panic sets in. Damn my own safety. Well, but if something happens to that kid, not more than a few hours after Isabella's accident at that, I won't forgive myself. I may not have been able to do anything for Belle, but this one's right in front of me.
She's going to hurt me! Help me!
I won't just sit this one out like a useless person. Another scream ripples through the air as I near the bend. However, this time her sobs die down along with it. A wave of cold creeps through my whole body as the entire corridor goes wholly silent. Quiet has never been a good thing in situations like this. In 3 more steps, I make it around the corner, bag ready in my hand. Oh. Hi, Charlotte. Only to be greeted by a wall the moment I turn into the adjoining hall. A dead end. It takes me a few slow moments to take it all in, despite the adrenaline coursing through my veins. No sign of the girl, or whoever's with her. Just an empty alcove and a single painting sitting on a bare wall.
Where did they...
A quick scan of the area reveals nothing, not even a hint of a scuffle. The only way out of here would have been the sliding door standing adjacent to me, but even that looks untouched, bolted shut to boot. The corridor I've just passed through seems to be the only way to get here apart from that door. I would have met them if they tried to leave. I'm far from having Ashton's keen observation, but that certainly didn't sound like a simple tantrum you can shove under the rug and forget about. Anyone making a desperate cry like that would have left things in disarray.
Especially a child.
Yet I'm the only one standing here, in the presence of a painting that looks to be mocking me and the absurdity of my actions. Although, to be fair, the real Lady Charlotte Ermengarde probably won't be doing any of that sort. Local history has constantly written and spoken of the woman fondly, endeared to everyone, much like her parents. The beloved child and heir up until she took her own life. A pity, but that's a lesson for another day. Above my worries over what I heard and finding that child, I've yet to find a proper way out of here. Thankfully, I don't have to fret over it longer. Soon another voice calls out from the opposite end of the hall. One of the custodial staff, from what little I could glean of his uniform at this distance. He doesn't bother hiding the annoyance in his tone. From the sound of it, this doesn't appear to be the first time someone unconsciously ended up here.
You there! What are you doing?
I say, what are you doing over there?
I'm sorry. I think I took a wrong turn somewhere.
Well, wherever it is you want to go, it isn't there.
I'm really sorry. I heard someone crying here and I thought...
Lady, this place is off limits to the public. Has been since a month ago.
Yeah.
Closed off for renovations. Didn't you see the signs back there? Next time, learn to read.
Rude.
It won't happen again.
Whatever. Get out of here, lady. Exit's back there, second turn on your right.
Lady.
Don't let me catch you here again.
Strange, though. He doesn't wait around for me to leave and walks off after saying his piece. I'm not certain if it's because he's simply tired of having to fend off unauthorized personnel from roaming in here, or he's just gotten to the point that he no longer cares anymore. Shaking my head, I step back from the alcove and prepare to head out, but not before taking a glance at it again. I'm not even sure anymore what I'm expecting to see before me.
Oh, must be the wind.
Yes, must be. So without another look, I leave it alone, and then it flashes back on screen with blood coming up the eyes. That's even more terrifying than what I was picturing. You have the ghost smile, that's for sure.